Richard Rellis here with reporter Robert Englund, who has been covering the Allister Adel saga. Robert, this thing really came to a head. Let's start back at the beginning. When did you first get the sense there was trouble at the Maricopa County Attorney's office?
That would be last year, as a matter of fact, when we discovered that Adele had secretly checked into a rehab clinic and was trying to run the office remotely from California while she got treatment. When she was called out on it, she made a big play that she wanted to get treatment, that she had a problem. She asked for sympathy from the public. She cast that as, I want to be as open and transparent as I can. But what it turned out was that she was forced into acknowledging this because the Maricopa County Sheriff, Paul Penzone, had actually found out she was in treatment and had called her office and told them that she had 24 hours to come clean to the Board of Supervisors or he'd do it for her. So from that moment in September, it was clear there was an element of secrecy with Allister Adel. So jump forward to January, when I started hearing that there was problems within the office, that there was internal turmoil, and it was all related to her sobriety and her absence from office and her ability to run the office. And that's when I started uncovering problems, one after the other, a cascade of problems that continues to this day.
You were hearing that the office was not running well in her absence, or she was trying to run it remotely.
Cool. Yeah. By January, her position was, I'm in full control of myself and I'm in full control of the office. What was happening was that the people underneath her were experiencing a completely different reality. They were saying she wasn't at work, that she was, to use their words, obviously impaired while conducting county business. And then I found out about a call to a staffer, an after-hours phone call in which she was reportedly drunk. And of course, I went back and started talking to county supervisors, and they were telling the story about how Adele was essentially a no-show county attorney on some real critical issues, including the Senate subpoenaing them and threatening to arrest them, the mask mandates. I mean, real core issues where you want the county attorney's involvement. And her position was, I'm running the office just fine, don't question me.
Right, even ceremonially, I think there was a point where all elected officials banded together in solidarity, but she was absent. And then, of course, there's all the misdemeanor cases that were dropped. That seemed to be the straw that broke the camel's back.
It was, and there's a lot of real estate between that issue, which we exposed, and the other issues. The other issues just kind of piled on top of themselves. After we talked about her absences and sobriety, 5 county top prosecutors came forward and called for her resignation. Her story started shifting. She started giving different explanations about her drinking to different people, including one time to me, 3 different versions in one interview. There is a massive case backlog. There are staff shortage. And Adele continued to insist that she was fine and she wasn't going to go anywhere. And then jumped to that issue about the cases. 180 cases they forgot to file on within the statute of limitations, and they had to drop them. So this was 180 cases of, drunk driving, domestic violence. They were misdemeanors, aggravated assault, threats, criminal damage, trespass, and all those people who had been arrested by the sheriff's office, the DPS, they all got a free pass.
So through all of this heat, including the expose that you had about all these misdemeanor cases being dropped, she held her ground. Like, I'm still running the office. I'm in control. If my top prosecutors are complaining, they can be the ones to leave. But then it seemed to pivot, and suddenly she's resigning. What do you attribute the pivot to? What made it so that the timing was she leaves now, or do we not know?
There's more than one thing at play here. First of all, after the 180 cases were exposed, her position was, my staff blew it. How can you expect me to be responsible for it? I'm the county attorney, but really it's my staff's fault, and you can't expect me to know exactly what's going on under my watch all the time. In fact, she used the word, it was absurd to assume she could do that. That backfired, and that drew a rebuke from the governor. It also, those cases then in the same week, drew a request from the Attorney General for Adel to explain what happened. Now, at the same time that was going on, there was an internal investigation, or an investigation rather, by the State Bar Association, and the County Board of Supervisors were looking into problems reported by her staff. So you have suddenly a political shift with the governor and the Attorney General, both of whom are part of, Republicans, her own party, publicly criticizing her operation and challenging the position that she should blame it on the staff. So she has to do what Adel does, and that's make a reversal. And she immediately apologizes after the governor made his remarks, and says her staff is the greatest, and they're working under enormous pressure, and they're unsung heroes. She even borrowed the governor's language in her apology. It fell flat. And then she's faced with the Attorney General demanding a report on these 180 cases and the Bar Association investigation. It is clear that the bar called her into the office, met with her, interviewed her within days then of her submitting a resignation.
So what now? It seems like candidates started making their way to the Maricopa County Elections Office to try to file. There's a bunch of people vying for it. Who should we know about?
Adel was the first woman ever elected to that position. And I would say that the 3, even 4 top runners for this position, which, by the way, within hours of Adel's resignation, some of these women were already collecting signatures and going about it in a gangbuster manner. There are 3, 4 critical ones. The Democrat, Julie Gunnigal, has already collected enough signatures, which is a Herculean task, and she managed to do it within 24 hours. A surprise contender, Rachel Mitchell, one of the top prosecutors, one of Adel's division chiefs, who actually called for her to resign. She's bringing in 2 longtime supporters of Adel, called her out for her behavior and asked for her to resign, which would be former County Attorney Rick Romley and former Communications Director Jennifer Lewer. And Governor Ducey's general counsel, Annie Foster, who's also made a strong showing in getting signatures, because of the way that Adel resigned. It has left kind of an opening for the board. So you have this election. They have 2 weeks to gather signatures and qualify for the ballot. At the same time, the board is still considering who they're going to appoint as an interim, and there's a lot of speculation about how that's going to go.
Right. So had Adel resigned in mid-April, there would be no election. There would be an appointment that would serve out the term. But now we are left with the fun of an election for county attorney later this year. And I know, Robert, you'll be on that as well. Thanks for joining us and talking us through this today.
You bet. Anytime. Thank you.